This was a good week of chapters, with every chapter's ending left me more excited for the next chapter than usual. Every ending of the chapters that I read were all very good. It's also the end of I Tell C, which the way they've been ending a bunch of them recently makes me think that a lot of these series could eventually come back. So with that, here's the spoiler warning, and we're starting off with One Piece, chapter 1017. This was a good chapter, with its ending leaving off on a big mystery / reveal, which was very good. And so it starts with Tama being on the platform, addressing the crowd, but Queen intimidates her, and she passes out, leaving Usopp and Nami to try to revive her, to help her build her confidence. It cuts to Frankie, Jinbei, and Inuarashi's fights, showing that they're being overwhelmed by all the grunts. Like, it's not a fair one-on-one fight. Each one's dealing with so many opponents at once that they're struggling. We see that the gifters arrive at the performance hall. At least that's what it seems like. And they're beating down all the traitorous gifters. Nami and Usopp then give Otama some confidence, telling her to be strong. Tama then orders all of her soldiers, her people that ate the Dango, to change sides and fight for Luffy and to beat Kaido. We then see that Luffy is saved and Law's crew is trying to revive him. We then see that Momo's alive, though he's scared that it was so high up that they fell, wherever they are. We see Speed encouraging the others to follow Tama's orders. We then see the gifters turning on everyone, now making the fights a bit more fair. We then see that Queen goes and tries to attack Tama, trying to get rid of her, when Sanji attacks him, stopping Queen's attack from even firing off on Tama. Queen then again recognizes Sanji as Judge's son, and Sanji then recognizes Queen, saying that Queen must have worked with Judge on his research team. Queen then confirms that he was, but now he is more than that, as he's a cyborg and he turns into his hybrid form. It's actually pretty interesting, as he's now bigger with the longer neck, and we see that his tail, his hair, and his arm are all cyborg arms. So now it'll be very interesting to see how strong he is against Sanji, which Sanji actually does get a big moment and a big fight for this arc, so that's good for him. We then cut to see that Chopper's after effect of using the new and improved Rumble Ball for its overextended limit is that he somehow turns into a baby form, but a geezer form at the same time. The way I'm going to attempt to describe it is that his body is that of a baby, yet he talks like an old man. We then learn that the mink have some sort of special medical technique that will allow someone to heal completely, but it's only temporary, and in return they'll suffer twice as much later. Zoro then insists that he gets the medicine so that he can fight right away, because it's the only thing that matters. He'll take whatever problem will happen afterward. This will be his second time fighting pseudo-injured going into a major arc, but I don't think that'll affect them in the long run. Then we cut to more of Who's Who and Jinbei's fight, as we see more of Who's Who's abilities, and again Jinbei fighting back very well. We then see that Who's Who uses most of the marine techniques, the 6 powers, and learn that Who's Who was a part of CP9. He had as much potential as Rob Lucci, which is surprising. We see him use a whole bunch of the techniques in new ways than we've never seen before. Jinbei then wonders why he has such a gripe with Jinbei, when Who's Who then explains that it's not really Jinbei, but Jinbei being so proudly a part of the Straw Hat crew makes him a big enemy, because he was imprisoned and thrown out of CP9 because of a failure. That failure was allowing the Gum Gum fruit to be stolen off of the ship he was guarding. And then he found out that Straw Hat Luffy had eaten said Gum Gum fruit, thus he blames Luffy. And that's how the chapter ends, and that's a very big reveal, seeing as how now we might learn how, why, and for what purpose Shanks stole the fruit in the first place. Who's Who then also admitted that he was good with where he was at, he's very happy where he is, but he blamed Straw Hat for initially ruining his life. I'm assuming will be the cause for that. It'll be a very big point of Who's Who is that he, A, was as powerful as Rob Lucci. That gives us some good baseline, because again, it's been several years, even back 12 years ago, but it still gives a good baseline to how strong who's who is, because Rob Lucci's no joke, even back in the early days of One Piece when he first arrived. But the bigger deal of this whole thing is that we could potentially be getting a backstory of one of the first few quests, adventures that Shanks did, which is really interesting. We'll learn something about all of that as it goes. Overall, I'd give that chapter an A. It was great, and the ending really elevated it for me, because I was debating on what to give it. But the ending sold me. I thought it was pretty great, seeing this big reveal, and maybe even continuation of it, seeing a backstory of it, seeing something, or just a nice puzzle piece leading to us questioning Shanks just a little bit more. That he stole it from the Marines, but for what purpose? Now that's a bigger question than just why did he steal a fruit. Now it's from the Marines, and CP9 no less. So it should be very interesting. I thought this whole chapter was very good, especially explaining how everyone else was doing, that the grunts are giving everyone problems. But with Otama now, they're kind of out of the picture, leading to another huge split. So now the forces are now more even. So now we're on to Black Clover, chapter 297. And this was a great chapter also, but for a different reason than One Piece, that we get the reveal of a major villain character. A bigger reveal. The chapter starts where it left off, with Noelle stabbing Vanica in the stomach. Their battle continues, they keep going back and forth, but Noelle very clearly has the upper hand and is very much taking advantage, taking all the offense and beating her down pretty good, until she's in position for the killing blow. Vanica is then very happy and thinks it's amazing. She thought it felt so good and everything, and then she thinks it's friendship, which ironically, if she wasn't such a bad person, is almost cute. But again, she's a very bad person for what she's doing, whatever, for her own greed. But I thought it was very funny, and ironically, she fits fairly well into what the Black Bulls kind of are. She's like the evil version of Luck. Like, if Luck found a devil that let him fight at top tier levels early on, we would be talking about Luck as the villain, and Vanica would be a part of the Black Bulls and be the Luck to Noelle's Magna. It'd be something like that, but she isn't. She's the villain here. Noelle puts her down pretty hard, saying that no, they're not, and that the fact that she revels in other people's misery is not good. So Noelle goes for the killing blow, only for Magnolia to arrive, to come out of the eye that she was in Vanica and form, taking over Vanica's body, and basically saying that she was hiding from Lucifero the whole time, and that now that she has everything she needs, she can actually descend upon the human world in full form. Like, it seems like Lucifero needs something more, where Magnolia is pretty good with what she has. She needed 3 very powerful mages of the same sex in the same area, so that she can kind of, I guess, sacrifice them, so that she could be made flesh. I'm not too certain. We then see Magnolia, and she is, as the other ones, very unnerving, which again, his designs are becoming more and more interesting as it goes. And we then see that Magnolia plans on killing both Lolopachika and Vanica so that she can become completely real. Kind of steal their 2 bodies, I guess, their life force. Lolopachika's curse is getting stronger. Gaja tries to stop her or help her, but gets cut in the process, and we see that Lolopachika is now turned into a devil form, which she certainly didn't have before, but I wonder what that means, why she turned very much into a devil. And then Magnolia tells them that if they all die together, they won't be lonely, and so Magnolia will let them all brawl one more time before she kills them all, which just is very dastardly, and I thought it was pretty excellent. Overall, I'd give this chapter an A as well, mostly because of the Magnolia reveal and showing one of the 3 major devils being the major villains even to their own hosts, meaning that probably to some degree Noelle's gonna have to save Vanica now, maybe. But Magnolia doesn't seem to care about anyone. She seemed to like Vanica and find her very fascinating, but was just always going to use her and never planned for anything more. She's very villainous from what I've seen so far, and look forward to seeing more of how these devils operate, because I don't think they're gonna lose. And but what I mean by that is, unlike with the Dark Triad, who I do expect to lose each one of these fights, I think all their devils are gonna break free and they're going to be unstoppable. As in, everyone thinks, oh, we defeated the Dark Triad, we can now beat these guys, and find there's absolutely nothing they can do. Even Asta with his anti-magic won't be able to stop any of them, is what I'm kind of going to predict here. But we'll end up having to see. I wonder if it'll stay here or move on to another fight, but I'm not too sure. So now we're on to Undead Unluck chapter 69, and this was a great chapter as well because we're going down a very interesting path and an interesting road, and the end of this arc really could dictate where it goes, and I'm very excited to see where it could potentially go. So the chapter starts with Fuko leaving. She is gone. Satani is upset with Andy, asking why he didn't stop her. She then grabs his tie, which breaks off, and for some odd reason, the clothing monster that was kind of his clothes forever disappear, so he now has no clothes again. They seem to ignore that, so I'm assuming maybe the clothes Uma that he had was actually hers, and so with her gone it disappears. Maybe he gave it to, I don't know, it's something, but now it's not his anymore. Annie then tells Juiz to rely on them more and not just try to do everything on her own, and Tanya asks what the plan is, which their plan is to let Under defeat Winter and then go get Fuko back to go rescue her, because they have no plans on actually living up to the deal, because what's it to them? Billy betrayed them, so they might as well do the same. We then see Fuko, and we see that Winter died instantaneously, pretty much as she arrived. So with Winter dealt with, now all that's left is Spring. Billy explains some of what his deal was, which it's more than just him copying her ability. It's that now he has exclusive control of how things are going to play out. And he's surprised she did take such a deal for some worthless humans in his recall, but Fuko just thanks him for keeping his promise and is distracted and looks at a dandelion and everything. The mic'd up guy asks if Billy copied her ability, which he did not. He then says that Fuko is a tough one, even more than Juiz, before bringing them to the base, but they blindfolded her and made sure she couldn't take certain sounds, put earmuffs on her type of thing. She then is brought to the headquarters, quote unquote, of Under. We see a bunch of the other members and the round table as a whole. No apocalypse, but that's just what it is. They stole the table. So then we see a couple other members. There's one girl, some other guy with a burnt up hat thing. We then see Bunny return, Latala, Rip, and then the guy holding the giant chain gun from the Saving Chikara arc all that time ago, who then tries to kill Fuko. Latala jumps in and saves Fuko with her ability, saying if that guy was stupid, who I think we find out his name is Creed, because Rip gets in his way, telling him that he'll cut him if he tries something stupid like that again. They then are about to brawl, but Billy arrives and uses Unmove, which everyone's super surprised by, as he didn't even know who Chikara was. I don't think. Maybe he just met him, but the fact that he already has that ability just shows how powerful Billy is at this point. We then see that Fuko's plan is to learn why Billy betrayed them, and Billy's plan is just to use her, and tells her to be on her best behavior because they're not as well mannered as the Union. So then we see a bunch of the members in like a lineup row, but it's not as many as the Union, but it's still a fair amount. So hopefully we'll learn some more about them. Maybe some are good, maybe some are bad, who knows. And so Fuko's mission in this time span is to learn and uncover what Billy's version of justice is, which is another nice, interesting goal as we march down towards Ragnarok. So overall, I'd give that chapter an A, simply because I really enjoy where this series is going. Right now, the decision is that Fuko has joined Under. What I would really like to see is that they stick with Under for now. We don't see anything about the Union as long as Fuko's here. Andy and everyone's in the background. You know they're coming, and even Billy could be one step ahead of everyone. Oh, they're trying to get Fuko back, type of thing. They know that part of the plan, but we only see the under members. I would really enjoy that, and I think that would be really fun just to see them, because we know Fuko, we can at least connect to Fuko, and for all intensive purposes, she's the main character. It's like if you took Luffy away from the rest of the crew and put him in another group, like in Marineford, no one was really upset because it's Luffy. Fuko fits in that same category. It'll be very interesting to see how far she's grown from where she was, as well as how much further she'll grow away from Andy. Andy is pretty much as powerful as he'll get. Maybe he'll get a little stronger, not needing to rely on Unluck for now. But Fuko, it would be very interesting to see how well she grows. So I look forward to that. But I'd like to see and learn about some of the other under members. Maybe more about Latala, Rip, Bunny, and a couple of the other ones that we don't know about. I doubt Creed's going to get too much. He's probably just going to stay a villain. Billy and Billy's main partner assistant will probably remain unknown. Probably Billy we'll learn more about Billy, but that's about it, is what I'm thinking is going to happen there. So hopefully we learn a whole bunch about the under members, and we learn what most of their goals are and why they're there, and learn something about what they need to do to prevent Ragnarok. So like I said, they're probably going to finish this quest, get another one that we probably won't know about until we learn who the spy is, if there is one. I think there must be, because they seemingly know everything about the Union. We'll end up seeing. Now we're on to Mashle, Magic and Muscles, chapter 68. And this was a good chapter. This was a fun fight chapter, just showing how strong Wahlberg is. So it starts with the standoff between this necromancer who has control of Adam Jobs' corpse versus Wahlberg. We see Adam Jobs' dark magic, how powerful it was, and his own strength. The necromancer uses him pretty well, but Wahlberg is able to dodge and counter most of the spells, which shocks the necromancer. Wahlberg uses some of his wand's ability and really disorients the necromancer, but he keeps attacking with Adam Jobs, but everything's now getting blocked as it goes, which the necromancer is getting more and more confused by, and uses a super attack to try to finish off Wahlberg. He thinks that this is it, that there's nothing else Wahlberg can do. This is the strongest attack, nothing can stop it. Only to find out that Wahlberg hasn't been using any spells like he thought, and has only been waving his wand around, and decides to unleash an actual magical attack to stop this ultimate dark void magic, and completely obliterates it like it's nothing, and is super powerful. The necromancer is completely stunned, but Innocent Zero says he hasn't slightly declined, meaning that this is always how powerful he was, even in his youth. So that's a very telling sign when the ultimate evil guy is praising someone else. Overall, I'd give that chapter a B. I thought it was very good, showing more of Wahlberg's overpoweredness and fighting, actually showing the fight, which I didn't think they would do. I wonder how much more there'll be, because clearly Wahlberg's holding back quite a bit as to not completely wreck the necromancer, but now he might not anymore. I don't know. It was very fun seeing how powerful and deadly he is. Where it'll go from here, maybe we'll stay with the Wahlberg fight until there's a winner. That would be nice, but I doubt it. We'll probably go back to MASH or whatever. But again, I thought this was a very fun, good chapter, seeing how strong Wahlberg is. So now we're on to Sakamoto Days, chapter 29, and this chapter was again very fight heavy, but very fun in the end, just showing how strong Sakamoto is. So the chapter starts with the cyborg assassin jumping in and trying to attack Sakamoto, saying that he's scientifically made 70% of his body into a weapon, and that Sakamoto's basically a pig for him. Sakamoto says he has weapons and pulls out a lead pencil, a coupon, and a half-off sticker. The cyborg's not very amused, but attacks him. Sakamoto then shoots a piece of the lead from the lead pencil into the cyborg's eye before sticking the half-off sticker to his other eye, his good eye, and punches him while he can't see, which just was unnecessarily ridiculous, but awesome at the same time. Sakamoto then taunts the cyborg, and the cyborg taunts right back. Sakamoto then asks if he's immortal after taking such a big shot from him. Cyborg thinks he can't be killed, and he gets a flashback of the real villain of the series, this X guy, who seemingly saved the cyborg and like lifted him up the whole thing. They continue fighting, but they're on train tracks. They dodge out of the way of the train, but Sakamoto's then caught in the cyborg's wires because he shoots them out of his hand. Cyborg thinks he has the upper hand, only to find that Sakamoto's surfing the railway on a piece of wood. He then cuts off all the ropes with the coupon because he made it either so sharp or he just was able to cut it with a flimsy piece of paper before yanking the cyborg through the train wall into the way of an oncoming train, where they bounce right through the like windshield of it and bounce through the train. The cyborg's arm and leg are coming apart, but he's able to reattach them. He stabs through someone's water and drinks the water, only for the water to spurt out through a hole in his stomach. But he seems fine overall and is finally impressed with Sakamoto before we see that Sakamoto is now in thin Sakamoto form and kicks him straight in the face, slamming him right against the window, shattering the window, it seems. And Sakamoto takes it as a good thing that the cyborg's immortal, because now he can go full out and not worry about killing him. Overall, I give that chapter a B. It was good and very funny to see Sakamoto just being able to be badass for a while, as he almost always is. But there's an undercurrent of comedy between a lot of it. But with this fight, it's just showing how outmatched this assassin is against Sakamoto. Like, Sakamoto is just a monster. So it's just fun to see every so often Sakamoto just beat a guy. So we'll end up seeing if he keeps up. I'm assuming it will, especially as now it's thin Sakamoto before he turns into normal Sakamoto. But I wonder if Shin knows about the bombs going off, that the place is about to be destroyed. And I wonder if he evacuates everyone, as Sakamoto is clearly out of the blast range now that they're on this train. They don't need to worry about that anymore. So I wonder if they'll be able to get out. Shen and Co. will be able to get out. Now we're on to I Tell C, Chapter 21, and the end of the series. This was a good chapter, and once again, it seems as though Shonen Jump is telling these authors not to end the series conclusively. The reason for that is that this ends in the same vein that Phantom Seer ended. I don't really have a theory on why they're doing that, but they could easily come back and do this again. Maybe they're seeing that Jump Plus, whatever their other site is, where Kaiju number 8 and Spy Family is, and where Chainsaw Man's going to be. Potentially, hopefully, maybe soon. I wonder if they're seeing that maybe they can do more with those series over there, because like Phantom Seer still had a lot to give. This certainly had a lot to give. So I wonder if they're going to go over there as like part 2s to these. They're like little sequel series as it continues, because neither this or Phantom Seer ended conclusively. They just kind of finished what they were doing. So the chapter starts with Sekon having defused the bomb. He answered the question right because of Riza. The answer was N instead of A, like I thought last week. Riza gives the explanation for it. Doesn't make too much sense in English, at least from what I can figure out, just from when I read it. And it does take quite a bit from Japanese, so maybe the Japanese audience figured it out last week. I failed, so I would have been blown up. I wonder if it worked out well for them. I have no idea. But the mystery of that was fine. They defused the bomb. It all worked out. Riza and the chief go to interrogate the kid, and we find out that he's a high schooler, or I think he's a high schooler / he might be a college student. Again, he is a first year at some academy, so I'm thinking he's a high schooler. They learn that he was suspended because he hit another student and was brought in by the cop that he threw a bomb in his face for, Yodabayashi. He says that no one sees the real him. He's seemingly depressed, and he calls out Sekon for thinking that he's just a spoiled brat and overprotected. Sekon tries to avoid his gaze because that's exactly what he was thinking. We then see a bunch of stuff where when he's doing great, his mother's very happy and in the joy of everything. He then has some friend in high school, but then his mother starts freaking out because he has a manga, a volume, and his grades aren't 100, so she's freaking out that he's not going to make it to college. This whole thing. He then sees his friend getting bullied by a couple of kids. He jumps in the way. A police officer arrives as he's being beaten up after saving his friend, and the kid that was beating him up, the cop, is his dad. So then the cop puts all the charges on the bomb kid that we are seeing the backstory of, and then his friend abandons him because he got suspended, and now all the pressure's getting to him, so he wanted to do this big example because it ruined his life, so he thinks everything happened. He can't find a point of living, the whole thing. No one knows who he truly is because everyone's just putting their own stuff on him. He thinks even the cops were doing that because they just wanted the acclaim. The mother then barges in, wants to know what's going on, that none of this could be happening. It'll affect his chance of going to college and bringing her joy and everything. The chief then apologizes for the unjust arrest of the kid. The mother then starts freaking out, saying that they should strike this whole thing from the record, and he's not a criminal, and she doesn't want a criminal as a child, when Riza slaps her in the face, telling her to stop being stupid, and that the fact that he is a criminal shouldn't have her abandoning him. It's more that she should really be on his side now more than ever, and the fact that basically Riza tells her she sucks. She then happily turns in her badge because she's probably going to get suspended for slapping just an innocent person and causing trouble. She then apologizes to the chief and walks out, and then time skips a little bit ahead where the kid does time in juvenile hall and then gets out and is seemingly now working for the I division for a little while for whatever reason, maybe for community service, for whatever. They're working for him now, and he joins I division. The kid's a little bashful, but then mocks the chief, who then is very sensitive. Kid says something about not really getting the name of the division, believing they're not imaginary, because again, I don't think they get credit for anything they do. They're just a separate division, making sure all the things happen. Like everything does happen, and that they do exist. They're not imaginary numbers. And the series ends with Riza being Riza and tracking down some criminal and telling them that she loves them. Just ending another case, as she was only suspended for, I guess, as long as he was in juvie, and is now back because they mentioned that she was late, so she'll be there eventually, but she caught a criminal. And that's just how the series ends. It's a shame because overall I give this chapter a B. It was a nice chapter. It ended just what was going on, which I think was just basically the plan. I don't think he was going to do anything more with it. I do think it's a shame though, because I thought this series had a lot of potential. I saw some people online, I didn't take down who said what, but the general premise was that A, the plot was slow, the mayor arc was bad and pointless, and the fact that they showed the villain so early hurt the series. I don't agree with really any of that because I think this series was meant to go for a long time. I think the sales being bad didn't help it at all, and I think that people just weren't interested in it. I think there's a great premise here. I think the villain could have potentially been one of the best Shonen had, and I think the characters needed to be built more, as with the Mare arc was more of a building of the difference between Sekon and Riza, as Sekon wasn't going to learn anything about Mare, where Riza always was, and even got a happy ending for her. That was a case fulfilled. It was an end case. It was a good guy, quote-unquote villain to start, where Riza is right that she can fix Mare, which she did. Mare can get out probably pretty early into her sentence and pretty much return to society as if nothing happened. She was reformed, quote unquote. I'm assuming eventually they wanted to keep going. Again, more arcs, more very much heinous villains, and testing Riza's capacity to find good in everyone. That would have been fun. Sekon would have continued to grow more complex, going from black and white to a more gray area like his brother, while still believing in the good in all people, but also knowing bad people needed to go away. Again, the villain would have always been the ultimate one, the major villain of the series, who kidnapped Riza, the whole thing. That major villain would have been great, especially as he seemingly was pushing criminals right into Rize's way to see how they grew and so on. The fact that he wanted to right the world was super interesting. It's a shame. I think it's a waste, but I think the way the series ended, it could be easily picked up right where it left off, because it just ended on a case filled and now a case can continue. I think the kid joining the I Division even just for a little while was a nice choice. Adds some more people to the group. Now again, the series is over. I don't believe it'll probably come back, but it's nice that it has an opportunity to come back, just like Phantom Seer, which is different from the other two that I read that got canceled, such as Zip Man and Guardian of the Witch. The two of them just flat out ended. They must have gotten ahead of time calls, like they're done, they're going to end type of thing. So they ended them. They both weren't very good. Zip Man is a fine little series. It had a lot of potential, I think, but they just canned it, which sucks. Guardian of the Witch had potential as well, but they ruined it with how it ended. They just cut it right off. They just gave you the ending, and it was bad. It was such a bad decision that it killed that series full stop. It was bad. Phantom Seer and ITLC did the exact opposite. They took their series and said, I still believe in this series, so I'm basically going to save it. Maybe one day they can get the rights to the series and they can keep it for themselves and write it their own way. Something. But for a series as a whole, for the 21 chapters we got, I thought it was a great series. I thought there was a lot of potential. I still do. I think it was a great series as a whole. Overall, I'd probably give the series probably a B+. I thought it had a lot of potential and it was unfulfilled, but from what I had seen, it was already pretty great. It's too little to really make super in-depth analysis on it, but I thought it was pretty great. Hopefully a bunch of the other series, if they're on the chopping block, can do the same thing that this one did, a bunch of the younger series anyway, and finish them up by just leaving it open, letting it that maybe they can come back and actually finish the story, because this one feels like it was just cut off at the knees, just like Phantom Seer. So that's all the chapters. They were all very good this week, and the theme of this week was that all of them had really great endings. From One Piece and Black Clover revealing some powerful new enemy or powerful new information, to Sakamoto and Mashle revealing super powerful heroes defeating villains as if they're nothing, or really beating them down before defeating them, to ITLC having just a very good ending and a nice way to close the series out, just like Phantom Seer, as I've said probably 35 times here, and Undead Unluck, whose ending left me very optimistic on what the next couple of chapters could provide, and I really hope they do make the right decision and just give us the under for a long time, or for a while I should say, probably not a long time. None of these arcs go very long here, but I do hope it's quite a while, as now maybe he got the green light to be comfortable and can kind of just flow until the end of this story. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and as always, thank you for watching.